give you a speed tour of our resources. It's Alice here. I am the co-founder. I'm also a primary school teacher, and I just want you to feel really confident to start using these as quickly as possible with your students. Hopefully you've shown them the animation, and if you haven't yet, just jump right in there and do that. There are discussion questions that go for each stage level, and you'll also find that there are Meet the Animal workbooks. Now, if you are ever stuck on any of the resources, use your Welcome to Grow Your Mind at School booklet. So basically it goes through the story and it's very similar to the animation where you're introduced to Flower Dude and this concept. The Flower Dude knows how to look after his physical health, but he also knows how to look after his mental health. And it revisits all the sort of central characters in Grow Your Mind, as well as what happens when our guard dog gets big. And it also talks you through some of the resources. Really, it's our playful take on an instruction manual, but done in a story-like format. So that booklet's always there for you to use and for students to have a little read of as well. Now, the other thing that I want to show you was the Flip to Flourish. The Flip to Flourish can be used for a minute a day, can be used once a week, can be used as unit plans as well. We've had schools divide them into the Thrive acronym depending on the contents. So basically you flip to a page. We've now got a little table of contents. So if you want to address a particular theme with your students, we've tried to make this super simple. So let's say that you click on gratitude. This then takes you to a little invitation. What was your happy moment today? Now you can read this as a script or invite a student to read it. You can also look down here and it will tell you where the research is and give you an idea of what you could potentially do as a class. For older students, they could be going and doing further research if they wished. Now, if you want to go back to the table of contents, quickly just come down to this little arrow here and it will take you back to the front so you can speedily get through, and then you can pick another topic, let's say relationships, and once again you'll find a little offering there for something that you can do with your class. And the reason why I love the flip and why other teachers love the flip is it doesn't have to be a full lesson plan. And what we know about obviously teaching emotional well-being skills is when we make them daily habits and part of the fabric of the school, they're much more likely to have an impact. Now, you'd all be familiar with the animal characters, but if you want to get to know them a bit more, these are little cheat sheets about how we calm them down. That's the guard dog, or how potentially we wake them up. And really this is about promoting good brain health. And you'll find that there are worksheets. These worksheets are free online, but also in the student journals. They can go through and they can write up their own little tips for how they wake up their wise owl or how they calm down their guard dog. So there's one for each animal, and the sifting sooty's in there as well. Now, obviously, once your students have a keen idea and a confident idea of the animals, you can start teaching perspective. Now, this research, I'll just get it a bit closer in as well. This is used frequently. In the physical kit, we have it in a magnet form. Now, what we would suggest that you do is brainstorm as a class all the potential problems in a day and work out the severity of them. And what you'll find is the majority of problems actually end up down here. Now, once you've agreed on those problems, you can then come back, and if a student is having a big guard dog moment, you could potentially say, look, where is that problem on the scale? And more often than not, it's here. Well, what does your guard dog look like? It looks like a huge problem. Okay, well, what are some things we can do to get our guard dog back down to here? Now, there's a really important part of this, and that is that we're not trying to say that someone's feelings aren't valid. Students and adults, anyone can feel what they want to feel. But what we are trying to do is plant a seed that we have a choice in how we respond and how we react. And just because we feel angry doesn't mean we need our guard dog to look like this, and doesn't mean we need to shout or sulk or slam doors or potentially be physical as well. This is a really popular resource, actually quite helpful as a teacher, thinking about where our guard dogs are at as well. I would also be refreshing students on the animals, and what you can do is quickly show this up and then cover these words if you wish, the fancy brand names as we say, and just say, I'm thinking of an animal, and this animal helps us make wise decisions. Which animal is it? And then you elicit that that's the wise owl. Can you tell me what the fancy brand name is? Or I'm thinking of an animal that often helps me to focus. Okay, that's your sifting sooty. And so once again, it's just very clear for students to see, and you're refreshing and reminding them. The Take Care of Your Mind resource is probably one of our favourites, and actually come 2020 we're going to be releasing lesson plans that support each of these actions here. So it's Flower doing something for his mental health. And why I love this resource is it's not just move your body. It's not just show kindness to someone. What it's showing students is that there's so many different ways that we can learn to flourish and thrive. And there's so many different ways that we can build resilience. Now you will find in the introductory lesson plans that a lot of these themes are touched on. And what we're hoping to do in 2020 is be able to, if you've been using Grow Your Mind, I guess make an offering to keep it really fresh by diving in with a bit more detail for each of these invitations. What I think works really well in a school environment is popping this up on the board just as students are about to go out to play and say what's something you plan on doing for your mind in the playground. Or at the end of the day, a reflection of who here can point to one of these things or come and touch one of these icons to tell me what they did for their mental health today. Now, the character strengths is obviously another one of our really popular resources, and as you probably are aware, if you're using Grow Your Mind, character strengths has a lot of research behind it. Now, you can use this in a number of ways. These aren't all the character strengths that obviously exist. They're the ones that we have fitted into our balloon with Flower Do. But what we can tell you is that there are many more, and there are many more on our website with discussion pointers as well. Now, as a class and as a school, it works quite well to focus on one character strength a week or one character strength every 2 weeks, and to really kind of spot it in literature and spot it in students. And then another thing that's good to do is pop this up if you are struggling with students with a particular area, be it tact or be it compassion or generosity, and pop the balloon up and say, I'm really thinking that our class needs to grow a particular strength at the moment. Maybe it's self-regulation or teamwork, and get them to guess. Another quite engaging activity is to tell the story of someone. Tell the story of someone famous that your students like, and try and have them guess which character strength they think that person uses. And we'll have more of this on offering when we release those workbooks as well later in 2020. Now, growth mindset. It's a buzzword, obviously, but it's a very effective thing to do if it's done in a supportive environment. So here, students have this visual representation of the power of their thoughts. So obviously, I won't do this. It's a very sad looking flower dude at the bottom of the tree. And I did it. It's up here. There's a whole process. And what you can be saying to students, if you're hearing a fixed mindset, is actually get this up, particularly during a tricky learning activity or when students are deep in the pit of learning, feeling very uncomfortable, and you hear those fixed mindsets, you just get them to point, well, where's your thinking going to take you? It's too hard is there. I can do hard things is higher. And so they start to see that our thoughts have a lot of power. But there is a disclaimer, obviously with growth mindset you need a supportive environment and a supportive teacher that allows you to take risks and make mistakes, and that recognises perseverance as well. Now we have an invitation in our Flip to Flourish, which calls on students to challenge shark thoughts. And shark thoughts, I guess, are the really pessimistic, unhelpful thoughts. And dolphin thoughts, the invitation is to try and change things where appropriate, not obviously to be a Pollyanna, but to try and change things to where appropriate to a dolphin way of thinking. Now, once students have had this flip, and there's a lesson on it as well, then you can also say, you can switch it up to say, it sounds like a shark thought, where is that on the tree? What would a dolphin thought sound like? And they can also have a look and see, oh, I made a mistake, I'll learn from it, is much higher than I made a mistake, I give up. And there's a blank tree that students can fill out their dolphin and shark thoughts as well. Now, obviously, mindfulness and emotional regulation is one of our key kind of foundations of Grow Your Mind. It's not the only thing, but it is a key part of it, which is why we have this very simple yet powerful poster that really shows emotional regulation, the steps involved. So you've got your breathe, think, act. Now, this is a nice thing as well to pop up just before play, or to pop up just before there tends to be arguments that you've noticed in your classroom. Maybe there's a particular activity or group work where this comes out, or if you've noticed there's lots of friendship arguments and a bit of bucket dipping, not being very kind to each other, and just encouraging students to breathe and think before they speak as well. And it's also quite a nice restorative activity. If there's something that's happened in the classroom or the playground, where you can be talking to students about the fact that the guard dog kind of took them straight to act. And what would have happened if they'd taken their big deep breaths, or they'd done some finger breathing, or they'd walked away? What animal would have come online, their wise owl, and then what would their decision-making process have looked like? The dose poster is designed to remind students that we have brain health and that we can look after it in really simple ways. So each letter of dose stands for a neurotransmitter. Now, I need to say that these aren't obviously the only neurotransmitters that exist, and that there are multiple ways for you to get these neurotransmitters in your body. The idea of this is obviously it's a beautiful image, and it's a reminder to students to take care of their mental health as well as their physical health, and it's really kind of simple ways of doing it as well. Now, you'll find in your Flip to Flourish there's an invitation that says get your dose of wellbeing, and there'll be a script along with this. You'll also find in your introductory lesson plans in the free resources section, it'll talk about the fact that the aim of the game is to keep our animals communicating with each other. So it's less about their specific roles and more about enabling them to communicate and chat. And what we know is neurotransmitters make that process a lot faster. So it's just a lovely reminder, again, before students go out to play or before they go and do a task, just to be sort of referencing this poster and going, okay, have you got your hit of endorphins today? Has anyone, how can you show me that you've got your hit of endorphins? Okay, you moved your body, you did some handball, you did some netball. Excellent. And it will hopefully stay with them for life, this idea of a dose of well-being. Now, this is a really powerful poster for teaching perspective, and particularly for dealing with friendship arguments. And it's actually a great one for older students. Younger students like it too, but we've found it really powerful with older students, talking about this concept of empathy and perspective taking, and the fact that if we have big guard dogs when we're having an argument with a friend, which is a really normal part of friendship, but if our guard dogs are up, we can both be shouting 6 or 9. Now, once you've taught this concept that there are different ways to look at something, then what you can do is be referencing it when a student is having an argument with another student, be it during a group work activity or perhaps on the playground. They come in and they're still very upset about it. You can just reference, is this a 6 or 9 moment? And we've got an activity in one of the student journals where students have to write about a recent argument and really relay the story through their eyes and then through the other person's eyes as well. And so that's quite a nice activity to do with students post an argument as well. So that's basically the main resources that you'll be using, other than being able to print your student work, your student journals rather, and your animation reflection questions too. And I guess the thing that I want to leave you with too is don't forget about the introductory lessons that are online and the worksheets that are online in the free resources section, and to not hesitate to email us or get in touch at any point if something's not quite working for you, if you don't understand how you can apply it to your year level.